When you hit year 3 of collecting 3D models from Patreon and Kickstarter, your library stops being fun to navigate. It becomes hundreds of gigabytes of scattered, disorganized data. Try finding a specific orc warrior you downloaded 6 months ago. The file is buried somewhere inside dozens of nested monthly release folders, and the folder names rarely tell you what's actually inside. Just to see what you have to pay the extraction tax. You unzip a 5 gigabyte bundle, extract the archive, and open a slicer just to preview a single file. A simple check turns into a 10-minute workflow. What started as a hobby collecting miniatures for the tabletop eventually mutates. You spend less time printing and more time acting as a full-time file system janitor. If your hard drive is constantly full, it's probably not because you download too much. It's a direct result of how creators distribute their files over time. This diagram illustrates a typical release cycle for a character model. Month 1 brings the base, unsupported file. Month 2 adds a pre-supported version. Month 4 drops a minor geometry fix. And Month 7 introduces a seasonal variant using the exact same body. Every single one of these is a separate download. That means the foundational 3D geometry, the base mesh that barely changed, gets permanently saved to your drive 4 separate times. Standard archive formats like zip, rar, and 7z treat every single folder as an isolated island. They have no way to recognize that shared geometry. Multiply this by 50 creators over a few years, and you mathematically guarantee that up to 60% of your storage is completely redundant data. You can't fix this with standard file cleanup tools. Those programs operate by comparing files byte for byte to find exact duplicates. If a creator renames a solid, alters an export setting, or changes one piece of metadata, the file signature shifts. The geometry is exactly the same, but to your computer, it looks like an entirely new, massive file. Neurochrome Vault changes the approach. It stops tracking arbitrary file names and starts indexing actual 3D geometry. Here's the core mechanism. The engine splits STL files into individual geometric chunks. Each piece gets a unique Blake3 hash and Z-stead compression. Once stored, subsequent releases with that shape aren't copied. The vault just drops a reference to existing data. On a real-world wargaming collection with 362 releases, this system takes 396 gigabytes of raw files and condenses them into 197 gigabytes. You cut your disk usage in half without losing a single model. But saving space only solves half the problem. When verifying a high-detail miniature, you still hit a 10 to 30-second loading screen. That delay has nothing to do with your CPU or your hard drive. Most standard 3D viewers are coded to read and parse the entire file before they are allowed to render a single polygon on your screen. Neurochrome Vault bypasses this entirely. It can read directly inside zip, rar, and 7z files, letting you preview the contents without any manual extraction steps. It uses progressive streaming. The moment you click, the viewer renders geometry the exact millisecond the first data chunks arrive. On a 116 megabyte compressed file running off a USB drive, first frame hits 782 milliseconds cold and 114 milliseconds cached. By pairing deep deduplication with instant visual rendering, the system turns a chaotic archive into an instantly accessible creative asset. Altering the storage structure of a massive collection can feel risky, but the Vault's deduplication process is entirely non-destructive. Your base geometry is perfectly preserved. Any deduplicated model stored in the system can be exported right back out as a standard, bit-for-bit identical STL file at any time. And the software respects your data sovereignty. It runs completely locally on your machine. There are no cloud storage requirements, it doesn't need an internet connection, and absolutely no subscription fees. You reclaim hundreds of gigabytes of your hard drive, while gaining the ability to search by creator, release name, or specific tags across your entire collection in milliseconds. The sprawling, disorganized mess of thousands of isolated, unsearchable archives finally becomes a unified, instantly accessible digital library. Stop acting as a file manager and get back to your creative work. Secure a lifetime license to the core